Okay. So that's what we'll do. And then after that, some of you got emails, and we're going to have some way-seeking mind talks from Sangha members, and we're going to try something else called Bodhisattva Engaged Practice Talks, which is what's your Bodhisattva practice look like in the world? How are you actualizing the fundamental point? So, and then after that, we'll just be in practice period. And it'll be the fall, and we'll see what happens then. Okay, so that's the preview. Here's verse 11. Mao Yu, Zen Master Baoshi, was fanning himself. A monk approached and said, "Master, the nature of wind is permanent, and there is no place it does not reach. Why then do you fan yourself?" Zen Master Baoshi said, "Although you understand that the nature of the wind is permanent, you do not understand the meaning of it reaching everywhere." "What is the meaning of its reaching everywhere?" asked the monk again. I mean, he really wants to know. These are real. It's like you got somebody wise in front of you. It's like, help me. I really want to understand this. What is the meaning of it reaching everywhere? And the response of Mao Yu, Zen Master Mao, is he just kept fanning himself. That's the response. And the monk bowed deeply. So here's Dogen's commentary on it. And I'll say a little bit, and then I want to share some of Uchiyama Roshi, who was Shohaku Okamura's teacher. His beautiful commentary in here. The actualization of the Buddha Dharma, vital path of its correct transmission. The actualization of the Buddha Dharma, the vital path of its correct transmission is like this. If you say that you do not need to fan yourself because the nature of wind is permanent, you can have wind without fanning. You can have wind without fan. Say that again. If you say that you do not need to fan yourself because the nature of wind is permanent and you can have wind without fanning, you will understand neither permanence nor the nature of wind. The nature of wind is permanent. And because of that, the wind of the Buddha's house brings forth the gold of the earth and makes fragrant the cream of the long river. I love that. The wind of the Buddha's house brings forth the gold of the earth and makes fragrant the cream of the long river. I don't know, whatever that is, I'm in. I want to know. Because remembering wind is in your Dharma name, Marianne.
I know.
I know. I remember. So Dogen's koan, early on, we all have these turning questions. Whether you know it or not. But the longer you live, you kind of know that you've probably been carrying something around, been trying to understand your whole life. And his question was, as a very serious monk and Buddhist practitioner, is if the teaching is that if everything is Buddha nature, if everything has Buddha nature, if everything is in its isness, perfect, whole, and complete, inconceivable, ungraspable, illuminating everything, if everything is oneness, including you and me, then why do you have to practice? Why do you have to make some effort in this world? Why can't you just kind of like go take a nap on the beach and be isness, and be thusness and suchness, which of course is fine. But what do you do with these burning questions? And what do you do when you see the suffering of the world? And what do you do the more you study the self in response to your own suffering, which you more and more come to understand is not just your suffering, it's just your version of the suffering, which is the suffering of being a human being. And then you more and more have a sense of, or tastes of, inconceivable. And how can we more and more actualize that and bring it into manifestation? But Dogen, it's really helpful to know the Dogen's thing was, so why do you have to sit zazen? Why do you have to study this? Why do you have to do the service that we're going to do? I mean, it's like, just what's the point? Let's just go take a walk. So it's not just don't go take a walk, but what is the fundamental point of these practices and the fundamental point of being alive? And the Zen master's response is just to fan himself. Embodiment. You can have all kinds of wise insights. You can be a scholar. You can have all kinds of reactivities and say, phooey, phooey. But how do we embody the deepest truth and meaning of being alive in this world, in this short period of time that we have here, with and for all beings? So the wind, aliveness, the deepest truth is always here. And you have to actualize it. Fanning yourself is through practice, is moving the wind and being moved by the wind, of being in the center of alive and breath and breathing. In other words, it doesn't change your life or help others unless you do something. Go ahead and be a wise spiritual person. Without your doing something, from a human point of view, it's useless. Who cares if you have Buddha nature, if that original Buddha nature doesn't inspire and change lives? And it won't inspire and change lives without activity. That's Norman Fisher. That's a bodhisattva vow. That's what a bodhisattva knows. Is the rising of bodhicitta is the arising of an awareness of love that is beyond anything particular. It's a deep care and compassion and wisdom. And then you want to live it. And how do we do it? Well, Sangha sure helps. Having good spiritual friends sure helps. Having forums sure helps. Having Dogen whispering in our ears across time. Yeah, well, I know. It's like every time I did it, these last couple of days, said that word, it's like I come back. And the world gets open. And the wind is moving and alive and filled with breath and breathing and birth and death and no birth and no death. It's completely all-inclusive, and it's something and it's nothing. And we have to live our lives and take care of these things because that's the way that we perceive. And if we miss the fundamental point that it's inconceivable, we miss the whole world. But if we just walk around saying inconceivable and don't take care of the weed that's growing that might be choking another plant, but how we pull the weed out or what we do with it, how we compost it, how we take care of things, that's vowing. That's actualizing the fundamental point. When we practice, we activate the nature of our lives and of life in general. We're not producing anything that's not already here, and yet without our action, it doesn't influence or touch anything. So being a human being is to respond. The question always is, the Bodhisattva question is, what's the appropriate response? I love that. What's the appropriate response? And it seems to me the more we practice with that question and practice with inconceivable, There's a body and a ground out of which the appropriate response arises. It's out of a body and heart of interconnection and flow and alive and completely ungraspable. And you have to do something. They call that a tree. If you just think that's a tree, you're going to miss the whole world. That is just a tree. Study that tree. And it's the whole world. Everything is. And when you do that, instead of, as Dogen says, to carry the self forward, is delusion. Of course, what a Buddha knows is you're deluded. I love that. No, you're deluded. If you think you're not deluded, you are really deluded. The more I live, the more deluded I know I am. It's so sad, but it also gets a little bit funnier, except for when it's not. So to carry the self forward, or to just the backward step, to just come back into the fabric of being, of everything, with the question of what's the appropriate response. It takes care of this moment and this person and all persons and time and space, and it's inconceivable, and you have to do something. I think this is cool. So I'm going to read you Uchiyama's, a little bit of his commentary. He says, in this final section, Dogen Zenji introduces an appropriate example of what he has been discussing throughout the whole Genjo Koan. So in other words, in a certain way, this koan is the whole thing that Dogen's been talking about, the whole thing, and he finally just sort of lets the cat out of the bag. Is he started with this koan, and then the whole Genjo koan rolled out of it. I thought it would be really fun the next time we study or I teach the Genjo koan to start with this koan and then roll out. I mean, it's just such a big full circle. It's just it's an Enso circle. There's no beginning, there's no end. It's a very simple story that we can understand without much explanation. Although the wind nature is ever present in heaven and earth, if we don't use a fan, the wind is not actualized. If we don't use a fan, we don't have wind. I would like to use another example. We human beings can be physically alive precisely because we breathe a breath each moment, right now, right here. If we think that because we breathed a lot in the past, we don't need to breathe right now, we will die. See, it's funny. There is humor. There is humor. Here, I think that's funny. So, and it's not funny. In the same way, if we think that because we practiced a lot and attained enlightenment in the past, we don't need to practice anymore, such enlightenment is already dead. Living enlightenment is the same as breathing each moment. We arouse Bodhi mind moment by moment, billions of times, and practice right here and right now. Billions of times, without end. It's like when we're dying, whatever that is on the exhale. It's like let go and arise Bodhi mind, and Bodhi mind will arise, and who knows. If there's lifetimes, this is, to me, I just want to come back on the wind of Bodhi mind. And I'll have just the right amount of delusion to wake up in. And of course, I mean, these are all stories, who knows, but I'll come back and go, this is so hard. Why did I get this life? If I could just get rid of this, then I could get Bodhi mind, instead of getting, oh, this is perfect. This is thank you, Buddha. This is the perfect embodiment of Buddha nature that I need. And in this time, it's like, the world's crazy. I'd like a world when it's not so crazy. Yeah, well, you know what? Practice. That's why we're here. The wind nature is ever present. Life is enlightened from the beginningless beginning. It is not that wind nature is ever present only after we attain personal, mystical, and intuitive enlightenment. Isn't that a relief? You thought you had to attain personal, mystical, and intuitive enlightenment. And if you're like me, you have no idea what enlightenment means, but you were sure going to go after something because somebody told you it was what you're supposed to be doing. The reality of the ever-presence of the wind nature is not something we have to create through practice. Rather, we fan this beginningless realization with endless practice. This is the wind of the Buddha's family. And such wind enables us to realize the gold of the great earth and to transform the water of the long river into cream. Here, the great earth and the long river refers to all beings. Gold means absolute. Transform the water into cream means to make milk into delicious cream and butter or cheese. I just had the insight that when Buddha, the story of Buddha, when Buddha was striving to enlighten, to become enlightened, and became really emaciated, and he was doing a lot of ascetic practices and almost died. It was milk. It was Sujata and milk, cream that she fed him that gave him the energy to bring forth the gold and the cream of the earth. So it's sort of beautiful that mother's milk, in a way, permeates this language of this tradition. The wind of Buddha's family, the wind of the practice of the reality of life as the reality of life, enables everything to actualize its absolute form and mature our way of life so that we reach the other shore. This is nirvana. When we read the Genjo Koan in this way, we can understand that from the title to the end, Dogen Zenji focuses on one topic, Genjo Koan, and step by step shows its infinite profundity. I hope we read this chapter many times and illuminate our own minds with this old teaching, continually deepening our life. And finally, I would like to offer my humble poem about Genjo Koan. So here's his poem. Genjo Koan. Ordinary profundity of the present moment. Ordinary profundity of the present moment, becoming the present moment. All of us are always living the present moment, the profundity of the present moment, even when we don't know it and are blind to it. The profundity of the present moment is embracing us as the present moment. All of us are living out the self-interpenetrating whole world. All of us are living out the self-interpenetrating whole world. The profundity of the self-interpenetrating whole world, whether we know it or not. Even when we doubt it and reject it, still we are the self-interpenetrating whole world, including delusions and doubts. Thus is the present moment of the self-interpenetrating whole world fanning the wind of the profundity of life right now and right here. Is Genjo Koan. The ordinary profundity of the present moment becoming the present moment. We'll read that one more time. All of us are always living the present moment, the profundity of the present moment, even when we don't know it and are blind to it. The profundity of the present moment is embracing us as the present moment. All of us are living out the self-interpenetrating whole world. The profundity of the self-interpenetrating whole world, whether we know it or not, and even when we doubt it and reject it. Still, we are the self-interpenetrating whole world, including delusions and doubts. Thus is the present moment of the self interpenetrating whole world. Thus is the present moment of the self interpenetrating whole world, fanning the wind of the profundity of life right now and right here. Right now and right here is Genjo Koan. The ordinary profundity of the present moment becoming the present moment. We're going to do service. I think, what you get in twos, and you just each take a few minutes. Phrase, a word or a phrase, it just springs to you out of all of this. It doesn't have to be linear. It's something that comes from your own experience, heart, mind, something you can take with you to help fan your practice and awaken the world. Okay, so just in twos, just here, let's just not even go outside, just spread out a little bit in twos. Just jump off into a phrase or a word or the mystery or something, intuition or something, a question that it stirs, or maybe it's always been there. What's here? Okay, good enough? And then we'll do service. You can't get this, which means you can't get it wrong. So it's like lighten up and enjoy it.
Oh, darn, I don't know what your preference is.
Okay, about 10 minutes.
I was thinking of trees, I hear about shelter on the tree. Mistakes or things that are out there. You should tell. Just what you talk to them is so we have it it could be otherwise. When you're speaking now, they can't all of them.